Hello and welcome to the 11 o'clock Waffle. I'm Mac Forsyth, bringing you the questions about the lighter stories from this week's news. And in a week which has seen the passing of Mickey Rooney and Peaches Geldof, we certainly do need some lighter stories. First up, making their second appearance this season, our resident master of the pun, it's Loz Shanahan.
Hello!
Hi Loz, how are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you? I'm stuck down a tunnel.
A tunnel?
I don't like it in here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's cold and there's trains.
You've just got the duvet over your head again, Loz.
Oh, right, sorry. Sorry about that, that keeps happening.
I'm sure you've had a lovely day off revising the show.
Yeah, a small confession on that. I woke up about half an hour before the show and I had a dim recollection that there was something I was supposed to be doing, and I sort of sat there trying to piece it together. Sitting there thinking, is this something to do with pancakes? Was it pancakes? No. Was it potatoes? Waffle. Oh, hang on, I haven't researched at all. So I immediately dashed online, told Mac I had something to sort out, which meant sleeping. And so I've been awake for less than 45 minutes. And it usually takes me a good 2 days to properly wake up. So this is going to be fun.
Going to be interesting for sure. Next up, a debutant, a rare contestant who did not go to Falmouth University. In fact, I believe he's the only guest on the show so far who doesn't have a degree. He does, however, have a diploma. Please welcome to the show, Steve Gibbard.
Steve!
Good day, people!
Welcome on to the show, Steve. How does it feel to be first a listener and now a contestant?
I'm a fond listener, so it's nice to be. I'm almost honoured to be a part of the Waffle, the 11 o'clock Waffle, which I still don't understand.
Is a debutante like a concubine? Is that what it is, or am I misunderstanding? Is it more like an escort?
Yeah, it's more like that.
I can work with that. I can work with that.
It's more like one of the toast racks from Eton.
Fair enough.
And finally, after the success of her wife last week, I'm in no doubt that our last guest will be very keen to claim the W this week. She made the grand final last year, but tied with Lucy in second place. Having finally left Swindon, she's become a housewife in Bristol. It's Emma Preuss.
Hello, good to be back for another series.
Welcome back, Emma. You excited to be here?
I am indeed. I'm excited to be sat in my flat, like I normally am.
You got the marigolds on still?
No, I've taken them off. I think Lucy's probably got the marigolds on.
Oh, there's about 10 views already shooting onto the ratings today.
Yep.
The ratings will go up even more if you tell people that Emma has hired some debutantes for the evening. Yeah.
And they're all wearing marigolds.
Oh yeah.
And an apron.
That's how I roll.
So, those are the guests. Cue question 1. Oxford beat Cambridge to win the boat race. Yes, in a surprising twist, one of the only two teams in the race won it. But give me a tale from the history of the world's most famous boat race, Loz.
I'm a little bit upset that Swansea University didn't win this because they'd been training hard all year. But no, they didn't win. Fortunately, the fact they weren't entered seemed to have an element. I mean, they managed to carry the boat all the way to the Thames, but unfortunately got there 2 days too late. The most obvious incident for the boat race is probably the incident in 2012 in which chap and lifelong Australian Trenton Oldfield interrupted the race by swimming in front of the boats. Now, at the time, he claimed that this was a rebellion or protest against the elitist overclass, which he believed the Oxbridge universities are key in propagating. But I've got my own theory, which states that he is sexually attracted to boats. So he stood on the edge of the bank there, and these boats come along, and he thinks, I'm going to have to go over and introduce myself.
So
and
like
then he jumped in the water. Sorry?
So he's like a boat spotter, but kind of like...
Yeah, like a boat spotter, but you know, he's really, really into his boats.
Don't see a train stopper or spotter just jump in front of a train, do you, really?
Sure, check out the oars on that.
Oh, it's got big Rolex. Nice rudder. So yeah, that's probably the most famous one. There have also been a series of mutinies across the history of the boat race. One in 1959 and one in 1989. The 89 one was a bit more vicious, but the 1959 one included an incident where a man quit the squad because he was told he wasn't allowed to wear a hat during training. But out of those incidents, I'd probably go for the Trenton Oldfield incident as the most memorable.
Okay, Emma next.
Okay, well, I decided to go for the fact that for the past 6 years, held at the same time as the boat race, is the goat race. Instead of going to the river, you can go to Spitalfields in London and watch a bunch of goats racing. And the universities have their representative goats.
So they're posh goats then?
Presumably, yes.
Do they make them race in the water? or are they?
No, that's...
Are they on the boats? Are they on the boats as well?
Unfortunately, it's not actually aquatic. It's on the land. But that's probably a good thing for the goats' sake.
Yeah,
I don't really know if goats are good swimmers.
So do the goats have cocks?
Well, the male ones do.
Right, okay, yeah, I guess the female ones don't take part. Okay, no, just interested to see, really.
Yeah.
Can we get goats on boats, just sort of rowing the boats?
Is that a possibility?
Is this the
It's
season
hard
of snakes on a plane?
It's difficult.
Yes, on
I'm
boats.
so sick of these mother-fudging goats on this mother-fudging boat. Oh, I love it. What you do
It's
is...
difficult for goats to row, really, with the hooves and all.
No, you just put them in a line, sellotape an oar to either side, get the cocks to stand at the front with like a carrot on a bit of string,
Sticks.
and then they run forward, and as they do, the oars go in the water, and you got yourself a goat boat race.
Wouldn't that get a bit top heavy? Just a thought.
Well, if they're all held in place,
So-
and they're just sort of running on the spot.
So forget all
These
the
quite
animal
big
cruelty. Completely forget animal cruelty. We hold the cocks at the front. We hold all of those on the goats on the boats, and make them chase a carrot on water, which they do not belong.
Yeah, absolutely. Forgetting basic ethics for a minute, I think we've got something here.
I think we can make money out of this.
Absolutely. Forgetting basic ethics, I think we can make money out of this. Suddenly we've all become Victorian businessmen.
Well, but that's where the boat race started.
Hey! It's full circle.
Well,
We'll do it on the River X next year.
We've not had
Absolutely.
Steve yet. Steve, what's your answer?
Well, I went further back in history, way before we were ever born, and I went back into a race in 1877, which kind of defined what we call the finishing line, as we know it today. Back then, it was the first and only ever dead heat. It was disputed that Oxford was 3 or 4 meters away from the Cambridge boat. As it happened, the referee or the judge called Honest John Phelps ruled it a dead heat to Oxford initially because he's so honest, but apparently he was sort of confused by other boats on the water and the fact that he drifted slightly away from the waterline. And so therefore Honest John had to try and think of where the finishing line was, and decided that after speaking with a guy, the umpire called Mr. Chitty, and along with 2 uni reps, that it had to be a dead heat because there was no definitive finishing line. From there, they decided, you know what, if we ever have this issue again, we're going to need some posts. So they built some posts, and they decided to avoid a water boy to be a referee. So they decided that's when uni reps decided to judge the race. I thought it was quite a memorable moment. Maybe not many people actually remember it because no one's alive. But, it's an interesting fact about how it developed as a sport.
Appointing a man as judge for the boat race, appointing a man who is confused by boats,
Well,
probably isn't the best. I mean, okay, so he's called Honest John, and you can't argue with someone called Honest John.
yeah, no.
Yeah,
It was Honest John or Lying Larry.
Well, it was because he slightly drifted, and because obviously some of the fans were on the boat during a boat race. I mean, why don't they just participate? Why don't they just stop rowing themselves? It would have made more of a sport. But other than that, they were like, well, we can't really say that Oxford won because we don't actually have a finishing line.
they should have. Forget Honest John. They should have appointed, Bullshot Billy.
Something like that, yeah. No,
to use a get around to avoid the Waffle's language rules. He would have lied his arse off, but he's not confused by boats.
Maybe the problem was that the judge was attracted by boats.
Yeah, he could have been a boat spotter.
He was too busy eyeing up a boat on the other side of the river, and he got distracted.
It's like, look at that rudder, and then the boats went past him.
Try not to make more Cox jokes here, because I think we probably had our fill. We've had our fill of Cox.
I think you have, Loz. You've had your fair fill, right now.
I have indeed.
Yeah.
Let's move on to question number 2 now. Noah is out in the cinemas. It is being criticised, however, for its inaccuracies on the source material, because we all know the true story of the man who built a giant boat and got two of every animal, onto it. So what piece of fiction would you add to a Bible story adaptation, Loz?
Right, okay, there was a recent Sky One series, I don't know if anyone saw it, it was quite good. It was called Ducks, Quacks, Don't Echo, in which various urban myths were tested, either so they could be debunked or confirmed. Now, do stay with me on this, because there was one episode where they tested the idea that people who were given a non-alcoholic substance and told it was alcoholic would believe they were drunk, they would actually feel drunk and act accordingly. On this program they tested this theory and proved it to be in fact true. So I would suggest that the biblical account of Jesus turning water into wine could be added to a new modern story where he does the exact opposite in all of the Ost licenses and bars in Cardiff at around 6 p.m. on a Friday night before everyone goes out. So everyone still has the same night, they still have the same amount of fun, there's still all the drunken catcalling and nonsense where people appear to be doing seagull impressions, but there's less liver damage and there's a severely reduced amount of vomit coating the pavements the following morning. Win-win.
Very good. Steve?
Well, I was thinking more modern, maybe into the future. Now, I was thinking of the film The Hunger Games, something that I've taken an interest in lately, watching the latest films recently, about how they all have a big city in different districts. And I was thinking The Tower of Babel is a story about a fair few people after what would be the Noah's story, where everyone dies. Spoiler alert. Basically, they build a town or a tower, and they build a town around it. And then God doesn't like the success of these people, as from what I could read from the Bible, and he basically distributes everyone into different places and makes them confused by changing all their languages, which therefore is why we have different countries with different languages. And I thought that's similar to, obviously, because The Hunger Games for me is like a post-apocalyptic moment. So it could be like a prequel to that sort of thing, where they had to build a city, and then that's when they got put into their districts. Except this time it's more of like a language realization as opposed to an economic issue, if I'm honest. I thought that would be a good way to start off the Hunger Games.
Right, and Emma?
I was thinking about the Easter story, which is basically about a man who is killed and then rises from the dead. And I thought, this is the first man to rise from the dead. Surely this is the beginning of the zombie apocalypse. And I just thought the idea of the dead rising up, led by zombie Jesus, would be quite fun.
So the zombie apocalypse started with Jesus.
Yeah, he was the first zombie.
Wow.
The thing is, the problem I have with this is that you're essentially paving the way for a Walking Dead Songs of Praise crossover.
Damn it, you're on to me.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
So yeah, and I mean, if you can get the BBC to fund such a programme, then you're on the way. Provided it has to be presented by Alan Titchmarsh.
Of course.
And then he has to get eaten at the end.
28 Psalms later.
Come on, would you not watch Alan Titchmarsh fighting off the living dead with a spade?
I would.
With
And
Tommy and Charlie Dimmock at his side.
And of course, the wonderful thing...
Of course.
The wonderful thing... I'm doing Terry Wogan now. The wonderful thing about... I can't do Alan Titchmarsh. I could do an Alan Titchmarsh impression the other day. It's gone now. The one time when you need to be able to do an Alan Titchmarsh impression and all that comes out is Terry Wogan.
Do Terry Wogan as the radio guest for the whole event, I suppose?
Yeah.
Oh, see, the wonderful thing I find about zombies is that they are biodegradable, so that if you kill a zombie, well, you just bury him in the back garden and it's gone again. I can't do Terry Wogan either. Screw it.
Let's go to Sheffield for the Sheffield half marathon. We may have a northern accent in one of us. The Sheffield Half Marathon was cancelled due to a water shortage as the supplier failed to deliver the water that was required for the race. Therefore, Health and Safety cancelled it. I understand that all over Africa right now, appeals are in place to help the water crisis in Sheffield. So, give me other examples of events being cancelled in strange circumstances. Steve?
Well, there's I really struggled to find events being cancelled due to strange circumstances. So I thought I would go to what I know, which is football, and about how certain matches have been cancelled due to an odd event. So they say lightning doesn't strike twice, and in South Africa that's not true. Apparently a couple of games were cancelled due to lightning, whereas in the UK we're used to our traditional rain and snow. A couple of teams in 1998 called Morocco Swallows and the Jomo Cosmos, they had to cancel the game because a strike of lightning hit the ground and caused all the fans and players to run off the pitch. In a strange turn of events, later that year, in the same exact place between two different teams, lightning struck twice, but this time killed 11 people, which I thought was quite topical for our earlier subject about how people would die.
11 people?
11 people died from one strike of lightning. I think it was fork lightning. It might have been a little bit more than just flash lightning. But still, I mean, I thought that was quite, weird Sorry.
I've actually seen one of those games on telly, and it's incredible. The lightning hits the pitch, and they just all fall down.
Yeah, no, obviously there's water on the pitch, and they haven't got. I'm guessing they may not have shoes. But if they did, I mean, they're not going to be absorbent to lightning, and if they've got metal in the shoes, it's going to land on the ground and come up on them, I guess. It's a conductor. I'd imagine that'd be why it got cancelled.
Okay, Emma.
Well, Kings of Leon had to cancel a gig because they were being attacked by pigeons. The venue they were playing in had a load of pigeons nesting in the roof, and they were being covered in so much poo that they had to stop.
Right. Were the pigeons not fans then, do you know what I mean?
Well, apparently, pigeons don't appreciate Kings of Leon.
Right, where is Leon? And why do they have more than one king?
Well, I thought Leon was in France, but they seem to spell it wrong.
Yeah. They're clearly not Kings of Leon if they can't spell Leon, are they?
No.
I've been wondering about them for a while. And if they are Kings of Leon, why are they spending all of their time farting about in a rock band rather than ruling Leon?
It's because Leon has a system where anybody who is in the royal family is technically the ruler of Leon. So there's actually currently there are 60 different Kings of Leon, and the group just happens to be a few of them.
Oh, okay, I see that. So it's kind of an oligarchy is the word, I think? Rock-based oligarchy. That in itself is quite a good name for a band. Rock-based oligarchy. And the Prisoner of Azkaban. Like I say, awake for 45 minutes.
Have you got any strange cancellations?
Well, in March of this year, a comedian by the name of Jenny Collier, not someone I've heard of, right? But unfortunately, I did hear this, I haven't heard of her unfortunately, but I did hear this story. She had a gig of hers in May cancelled because the event organisers decided there were too many women on the bill. So this was a gig, she hasn't disclosed where or what the event was. There were multiple comedians hired for the evening, and they decided there were too many women, so they sent her an email that read, "I'm really sorry, but the venue have decided they don't want too many women on the bill, and unfortunately we need to take you out of this one." Now a newspaper did track down the same event, which was held also this March and in May, and at the March occasion they had 9 comedians, one of whom was a woman. She essentially got her place cancelled because she had the misfortune to be a woman, despite the fact that they seemed to have hardly any women involved at all.
Pretty bad. You wouldn't get that on a BBC comedy panel show now, would you?
Well, that's a whole other debate.
I was going to say, am I only here to make up the numbers? I'm the token woman for the Waffle.
No, not to just spark a debate on this, but to kind of play devil's advocate on this for a minute. If you start operating the policy of what they call positive discrimination on panel shows, so they say, okay, on X number of episodes, you have to have a woman. Now, there are women that are saying it's difficult enough for them to get involved in comedy because there's this odd perception that women, for whatever reason, just aren't funny, which is clearly nonsense. But if suddenly women are appearing on panel shows because of positive discrimination, is it not going to further this myth? Oh, women are so unfunny that they only appear on panel shows because the BBC have decided to enact a policy enabling them to do so. I actually think it's going to make things a lot more difficult for women in comedy because it's going to further that stereotype. So I think it's a bad idea. And on that basis, and given the fact that she agreed, could Emma please kindly piss off?
I'll just go now, shall I?
We'll go. Let's have the scores first, because on 11 points at the back, it's Loz.
Right, clearly someone needs to leave.
On 11 points as well, it's Steve.
Yes.
And in the lead on 13, it's Emma.
Woo!
You can't see me, but I've got my arms crossed and I'm glaring at the screen.
Our teaser question on the group this week has been to do with the news that John Lydon, the punk rocker, is going to play King Herod in Jesus Christ Superstar. So we had other musicians as biblical characters. So just to give you a couple of them during the break of the questions, we've got S Club 7 as the 7 Deadly Sins.
Nice.
And then we've got Varg Vikernes as Abraham and Euronymous as Isaac, with a slightly different ending. Morrissey as Job and ZZ Top as the 3 Wise Men. But we're announcing the winner of our teaser question in the next round. So question number 4 now. Miss Piggy is the new face of Tweed, so other adverts that the Muppets could do. Emma?
Well, I think there's a perfect opportunity for IKEA to have a new spokesperson, which would obviously be Swedish Chef. Because come on, IKEA sells itself, obviously for its good value furniture, but come on, the real reason a lot of people go there is the meatballs. So Swedish Chef is the perfect person to be the face of IKEA.
Steve?
I had a few ideas. I wasn't as clever to think of Swedish meatballs. But yeah, no, I went for sort of stereotype animal, big crazy monster, to advertise for Red Bull, because all their campaigns are usually adrenaline junkies, the skydiving, the guy going up into space, jumping from the rally cars, all that, Formula One. So Red Animal could be like a face of that, and then rather than give you wings, sort of like an adrenaline sort of feature to it now, because I think Red Bull really doesn't give you wings, it just gives you more of a headache. Kermit the Frog, the French tourist board, you can go around, enjoy the views, and then suddenly come across a pizza with his great uncle on the side as a possibility. Gonzo could be like a spokesman for very classy alcoholic beverages like scotch or whiskey, something like that, like famous grouse just sort of sit there sipping on an alcoholic beverage, saying, and then he'll speak and it'll just sound really funny. I thought that would be quite funny. And then I thought accidents at work, those people that like, if you had an accident in the last 3 years and you need help and it's not your fault, you can call Statler and Waldorf and have like Beaker being run over by a car or something like that. Pretty cynical stuff, but I thought, you got to appeal to the people, and hard-hitting things like Beaker getting run over and Kermit's great uncle being cooked up by a pizza man, that could be quite hard-hitting stuff, and maybe people go to these places and stop it.
I was actually thinking what you're saying about Animal. Surely the funnier thing would be to get him to advertise something like decaf coffee and have him as he normally is, and then shock everyone by just having him chilled out somewhere.
That's a good idea. Yeah, just sort of, and here we have Animal, a crazy man, and here we have decaf coffee, latte.
And just show him like decaf Animal, just chilled out.
Just gently in a sofa in a dressing gown watching Twilight.
Yeah.
Loz, are you still there or are you sulking?
I am still here. I am still here. Sorry, I momentarily fell through a trapdoor in the floor and went to wherever Edgar goes when he disappears on the the Waffle. It's a strange place, full of trombones. I was thinking, and I'm sorry to lower the tone here, but I'm led to understand that this is my job. Is that Gonzo Viagra? now bear with me on this. His nose. Give him the Viagra, and then suddenly you can lay him on the ground and use him for a game of throw the hoop. I think that's particularly I like that idea. I think in the first episode we briefly discussed how Gonzo could actually be a spokesman for Ann Summers, because if there's one Muppet with a nose that looks like it could be a gentlewoman's item, and with the use of the Viagra, I think so. So for me, he should be the perfect spokesman for Viagra. Alternatively, and to go on a slightly more serious route, the Welsh government this week have been talking about banning the use of electronic cigarettes in public places. Obviously, this is following on from the wider smoking ban. And I was thinking, with the popularity of the Muppets, why not just try and make smoking less popular by having a poster in which all of the Muppets are merrily puffing away with the slogan "Only Muppets smoke." And then you could run another advert, several months down the line where two of them have died.
Oh.
And then there's just, or even just another one where there's some people eating a cooked breakfast, and it zooms in on the bacon, and it says Miss Piggy smoked. Now she is smoky bacon. So I think there's various kind of public health messages you could get across with the Muppets, but primarily I go down the route of Gonzo and Viagra. Two words that have never previously appeared in a sentence together.
You didn't have to explain it either. You didn't have to explain it.
Oh,
no. But I wanted to, because you were all being far too highbrow.
I'm so glad we're raising the mood for the next question. A 9-month-old baby is accused of plotting to murder in Pakistan. So, other absurd accusations. Loz.
Okay, so witchcraft was a common one in centuries past. There's a common accusation, anyone, particularly an elderly woman, or a married woman with no children, a woman of some sort. If she did anything you didn't like, you could accuse her of witchcraft. And one of my favourite ones, this stems from the early 1600s, 1620s, I think, was about a man in a part of Norfolk, I think it was, who accused a woman of being a witch. And the reason he did this was because she caught him in a field, lifting up the tail of a cow and kissing it directly on its Katie Hopkins. And when she found him doing this on multiple occasions, quite passionately, I believe, he then and threatened to tell people. He then publicly accused her of being a witch and claimed that she had bewitched him into performing this act upon a cow. But the thing is, I don't think anyone believed him because he had been caught brown-handed. So. But that's a genuine one. I think it was referenced in the play The Witch of Edmonton.
Steve?
Well, I was trying to think of cases where actors have been falsely accused of or being sued for things like you said my line in a film and that was my line and I can't believe you said it, and sued them for about £1 billion. But I couldn't find any factual results on that one. But I know they have existed, so I went with what I know with football. And most recently, being falsely accused, was the whole Andre Mariner incident where he sent off Kieran Gibbs because he looked like Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Interesting.
Oh, yeah, no, it was basically a challenge. I don't know if it was a handball or a foul challenge, and the referee just came up, and even though Kieran Gibbs said it was him, he still sent off Oxlade-Chamberlain and then told Walcott to go away. And I thought that was quite funny, and I thought, well, what other funny moments like that? And another ref shown in another game, which is now a world record, actually shown 36 red cards in one game, where he sent off all 22 players, plus the subs and the technical staff, in an Argentinian game against Claypole and Victoriano Arenas, where he got confused. A fight broke out. Most of the people that were actually on the pitch were trying to break it up, but the referee just got confused and went mental and just sent everyone off, and then everyone was there just like, well, that was a waste of time. Literally, that is now a world record. It used to be 22, where I'm guessing a referee sent off all the on-field players, but then someone just decided to send off everyone. I'm surprised they didn't send off a fan.
Emma.
Being too enthusiastic in their support.
Yeah. I'll tell you, be too hyper.
You're putting people off. Get off. It'd be interesting, like in how in Wimbledon, where it's very much frowned upon for people to shout and cheer whilst the game is going on because it distracts the players. It'd be very interesting to see how the atmosphere of a football match would change if the same rule was put on players. There was an incident recently in Japan whereby a team, some of their one of their members was caught making kind of essentially being involved in racist chants against someone. So as a punishment, the team were punished to play their next game in an empty stadium. That is, the public were banned. Now, this affects the other team as well, but this team were essentially sentenced to this. Apparently they found it an incredibly difficult experience because they're used to playing in that atmosphere. And if you watch footage from the match, everyone just looks like they're about to cry. It's really, really odd. Not particularly funny, I know, but it's a really, really odd event for a team to have to play like that.
Okay, let's Emma answer now.
Okay, mine ended up being a similar theme to Loz's actually, but mine took place in June 2005. A man called Christopher Roller, who comes from Minnesota, decided to sue David Copperfield and David Blaine for using God's powers.
Oh, I remember this.
Right.
He didn't, because apparently they were using godly powers without asking the Lord's permission and claiming to be gods.
I remember reading this. This was hilarious. It was like, did you ask God to use his powers? No, I did not.
But apparently this man also claimed that the movie The Truman Show was based on his own life.
Right.
And he also claimed to be married to Celine Dion, with whom he was going to have 1 million babies.
Precisely 1 million?
Apparently so.
Was there leeway on this? You know, could he maybe have 900,000 and then just...
Gosh, she'd want a bit of Vaseline by the end of that, wouldn't she?
Well, he was all ready to have the millionth, and then it turned out to be twins, so he just had to kill one of them.
What an interesting day about death, guys.
Let's move on to question 6 now. Game of Thrones is back, the show where everybody dies. It's known for its extensive cast list and guest stars, but who would you like to see appear in the show? And we'll just keep this to a one-namer, guys. So, Loz?
Well, I actually had an explanation, but I was just going to go with George R.R. Martin, but mostly because I want him to be the only character that survives.
Emma?
Stephen Fry.
Oh, yes. Could he take over? I want him to take over from Jon Snow. Just because I think all of Jon Snow's scenes would be infinitely improved just by having Stephen Fry attempting to wield a sword and doing all of the mad stuff that he does.
Okay, and Steve?
I went for Emma Watson, just for the female side of things, just how, obviously from what I know of Game of Thrones, but that's about it really.
Oh, why would you willingly add Emma Watson?
The idea for me is medieval, lots of death, and coincidentally a lot of sex. And I thought she would bring a high value sex appeal. Is what I was thinking.
Can I just say that the reason why Steve wants to bring Emma Watson into this, you know, so that he can see her tits, is precisely the same reason I suggested George R.R. Martin.
Alright, let's move on to the score.
It's for the sex scenes.
It is.
In last place on 20, it's Loz.
I have a losing noise prepared, and it is this. That's all I have to say to you.
It's pretty grim, pretty death-like, isn't it?
22 points, it's Steve.
Yay!
And 24 points in the lead, it's Emma.
Woo!
Time now to announce the winner of our teaser competition. Other honourable mentions go to Chris Stanley putting forward John Barrowman as Joseph, Leanne King putting forward Madonna as Eve in terms of Material Girl. We've also got Chris Cutting's rather brilliant The Wrecking Ball is an updated version of the destruction of the Tower of the Babel. God came in like a wrecking ball, he made all men speak different tongues. But this week's winner is Matt Shrub-Fiefeld with the Gallagher brothers as Abel and Cain. Question number 7. Somebody ran in the Ukraine elections as Darth Vader. So other examples of unusual participants in political elections. And we'll go to Steve.
Honestly, I'm not a very political person. I generally don't get involved in it. So I thought I'd wander over to my second homeland, which is America, which I'm very familiar of. And I went for George W. Bush, because how can someone that ridiculously stupid possibly run a country? The amount of moments where he has been doing something silly or said something stupid live on TV. He got caught holding a book upside down, for God's sake, and holding a telephone the wrong way. I mean, who voted for that? It's only in America where you can see something as unbelievable where they find the uneducated to go for the job. I just find it really barbaric.
They've recently some clever person has worked out that all of the paintings that George Bush has done of world leaders, rather than access the vast variety of photographs available to him of him meeting world leaders, and these photographs taken by the White House official photographers, it looks like he's just gone on Google Images and found the first mugshot he can find and just painted over that. So that's one thing they've worked out that he's been able to. His paintings are awful. He painted himself in the shower for reasons I'm not entirely sure of, but he's facing the wall, and there's a reflection of his face in a mirror that's about 8 foot away.
Well, I suppose that works for wall works, I suppose. Wall paintings.
George Bush's face actually bends light. That's how dense he is. Light cannot escape. I didn't even plan that. That is a class act right there. That's how it's done.
Emma, still losing. Participants in political elections.
I also went over to America for this one, but I went for the 2012 presidential election, and I went for an interesting character called Vermin Supreme. He wears a Wellington on his head.
Good.
And he tried to run for president. One of his promises, if he got in, would be that everyone in America could have a pony.
Is a Vermin Supreme not like a chicken supreme but with rats?
Yeah.
Okay, Loz, you've got points to make up here.
I have. Okay. So in 2012, a Lib Dem candidate at a by-election in Edinburgh was beaten by a man dressed as a penguin. The penguin, who went by the name of Professor Pongu, beat the Lib Dem candidate by 440 votes to 370. He also managed to beat the Green Party candidate, who had 325 votes. The reason for this is probably because Professor Pongu, real name Mike Thurrigan, went with his one excellent policy. If he was elected, he would attend all council meetings in the penguin costume. Unfortunately, he didn't actually win the by-election, which went to a goat, probably. Almost certainly. A goat on a boat, yeah, with Rolex glued to either side. I just like saying Rolex. Rolex.
For Rolex.
Rolex.
Question number 8 now.
Rolex.
Sir Bruce Forsyth is stepping down from Strictly Come Dancing, but what is his greatest achievement? Loz.
He won the Grand National, which was he ran the Grand National and he won that by an absolute nose. So that was a pretty big achievement. Probably one of his biggest achievements is being the world's second most famous presenter with the name Forsyth. But
Loz is won. Loz is this week's winner.
But honestly, no. The guy's got a CBE, Commander of the British Empire. He can't actually command the British Empire. He came round to my house and told me to march to war, and I told him to get stuffed. So, but that in itself is a pretty big achievement. But I think, to be honest with you, his main achievement is that he's 86 years old and still cutting quite a dashing figure in the notoriously cutthroat world of entertainment, which I think is something that has to be applauded. Up until, I think, last week, he was still presenting Strictly Come Dancing. And this is a man old enough to remember the entire Second World War. So, that in itself, I think, stands as a pretty amazing achievement. That and the fact that he invented the concept of love. So yeah, that's that. Those are all achievements that we can give to the name of Mac's grandfather there.
Steve.
Well, obviously, other than the fact that he spent 74 years on TV, which is a world record for the longest television career for a male entertainer. God knows what would be for the female entertainer. I didn't really research into that. But I think overall...
Sandy Toxic, 906.
906?
She's Viking.
Oh my goodness.
Mm.
Beard and everything, yeah?
Yeah,
Alex. But the most, I think anyone would really want this is the fact that he has a bronze bust of himself, which was unveiled at the London Palladium in May 2005. Palladium, sorry, I didn't learn to pronounce that. I feel silly now.
Sandy Toxic also has a bronze bust.
Does she?
Yeah. As a Viking, it's the traditional battle armour.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's...
She keeps it under her steel brassiere.
Oh, yeah. Is he a debutante or whatever it is?
She is. She is a Viking. She's a Valkyrie debutante. She comes down from the heavens. She removes her steel brassiere, revealing her bronze bust. Yeah, and then gets to work a pillaging.
Well, that definitely puts Bruce Forsyth in his place, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
It really trumps him. But if you would like to know...
Bruce Forsyth is also the human embodiment of the god Thor, so...
Yeah,
you know,
but
they
Bruce
kind of have a
Forsyth would
relationship.
turn around to her and say, "You don't get anything for repair."
Oh, that was pretty cheeky there. But that's on display in the Cinderella bar, apparently, in the London Palladium, or wherever it is, Palladium. And yeah, no, I thought that was, I'd quite like to have a bronze bust of myself, but, each to their own, I guess.
Okay, and Emma, last of all.
Well, the other two have sort of touched on it already. I think clearly his greatest achievement is the fact that he's been on TV almost as long as TV has existed. His first appearance on TV was in 1939.
On TV?
Yeah, there was a broadcast then, somehow. As an interesting side note, he played Glastonbury in 2013, which I think is quite impressive for a man in his 80s. It was jam-packed. They couldn't get any more people in. And it was incredibly successful. He sang and danced and told jokes. And that was his act.
What did he sing?
I'm not sure what he sang. But yeah, he just did a sort of variety show at Glastonbury, and they couldn't fit any more people in the field because it was so popular.
I like to imagine that he played the entire of Wagner's Ring Cycle on a kazoo. That does strike me as the kind of thing he'd do. That's incredible. He played Glastonbury last year.
I know.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll be able to get him to host this show at some point? Maybe the 50th.
Nice to hear you. Nice.
Nice.
You're
Does that
related.
work in the budget?
You're related. You can call him some favours.
Yeah.
I'll do my best.
Yeah.
Anyway, time for the scores now before the final round. On 28 points in last place, it's Steve.
Oh.
Just ahead on 29, it's Loz.
Oh.
But still holding on to the lead, it's Emma on 30. So the final round now, where our guests will present a news headline followed by a short summary of the story, which will either be true or false. The story is something from the past week's news, by the way. Emma, as you're in the lead, what's the running order?
I'm going to say me, then Steve, then Loz.
Okie doke. So, what's your headline and summary?
Okay, my headline is Mysterious Vortex Reported in Brighton. And apparently a man reported the fact that on Montreal Road a mysterious portal appeared in the middle of the street, which was probably a way to get to other dimensions and outer space. And he would have investigated it, but he was worried that his dog might get sucked in.
Steve, your headline and summary?
A dress that goes see-through when aroused. Basically, the title is the clue. A Dutch fashion person created a dress that identifies a person by feeling their heart rate, and it starts off as black and then turns in sort of see-through, and that sort of lets the male person know that girl wants him, kind of thing.
Okay, and Loz, I know your dress is probably see-through right now.
It is indeed. Well, it would be if I was wearing anything.
Okay, your headline.
Silence.
Your
I'll leave it
headline
there.
and summary, please.
Petrol head spiders put Mazda out of production twice. So this is the second time in 3 years the Mazda Motor Company has had to issue a recall for certain cars, only in North America, because of a spider that likes the smell of petrol and weaves a web that blocks the engine. After redesigning the engine to block the vent the spiders got in through, Mazda had to try again after it was discovered that the spiders had simply found a different route in on the new models.
Let's go through now. So, the mysterious vortex was reported in Brighton. Steve, do you think that's true or false?
False.
And Loz?
I think the mysterious vortex isn't that the name of a club? I'm going to go with true.
Okay, and the see-through dress. Loz, you thinking that's true or false?
True.
Emma?
True.
And finally, the petrol-head spiders. Emma, what are you thinking for that one?
Oh, I don't know. I'm going to go for false.
And Steve?
I think that's true. I think it's possible.
Okay, so the mysterious vortex reported in Brighton. Emma, what is that, true or false?
It is completely true.
Hey!
Well, I don't know whether the vortex is true, but a man genuinely reported it. He's quoted as saying that he believed it was a portal to other times, places, and dimensions.
The see-through dress now. Steve, does that exist?
It does. Well, it does exist. It's actually it's not on the market as of yet. Simply, it's called the Intimacy 2.0. And like I said, it's covered in e-foils, which measures a woman's heart rate, which defines when they are aroused, which I thought would be pretty awkward if you just go into the gym or something.
Or the fact that you might be nervous because your dress becomes see-through.
Yeah.
Your heart rate is increased if you are, aroused, nervous, frightened, or running. So yeah, if you're just out for a light jog in this thing, or if you're on your way to the pub and a dog comes at you, you're not aroused with it. Well, maybe, but your dress goes. I don't think they thought this through.
It all hinges on the petrolhead spiders, Loz.
It is entirely true.
Oh.
Spiders have been entering Mazda engines because they like the smell of petrol.
So that brings us to the final scores now. On 32 points, but having a very impressive first show, it's Steve.
No.
On 33, it's Loz. And strong throughout and just getting it at the end on that last question, it's Emma with 34.
Woo! It's good. And obviously...
The mating cry of the Shanahan.
It's my cry of
Obviously,
disappointment.
this is after Mac has done the adjustment, because being a woman, obviously, I have a different scoring system to you guys.
Totally, this is completely feminist. Completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, Emma gets 5 points just for turning up, love her, and she does make a cracking cup of tea, and she does look pretty around the studio. Death and sexism, the 11 o'clock waffle.
Well, we'll be back next week with a lighter show, and of course we'll have a token woman again.
Who will be your token woman next week?
I don't know. Maybe we'll just have an all-female show, and we'll stand up for the sisterhood. Yes, Emma?
Yes.
Thank you to my guests this week, Steve Gibbard, Loz Shanahan, and the winner Emma Preuss. We'll be back next week. Thank you very much and take care. Goodbye.
Rollers!
Bye.